Thank you very much.
Are you sharing your slide, or I should share it for you?
Share it for me. Oh.
Okay.
That's why I do it now.
Okay.
Unless there's a problem there. Boom, boom, boom.
Hello, my daddy. Good evening.
Good evening. Speaking while the slide is coming on. My name is Michael, and my father's name is Asus. Underneath my name in that first slide, you will see my affiliations. Adolescent Youth Congress of Nigeria, formed in 1986 in response to the needs for young people to know about life, especially family life. Association for Family Life Education and Services, formed in 1992, the International Year of the Family by the Catholic Church, in order to meet that need. And those of us who formed it held a weekend, Friday to Sunday, seminar on marriage and family life in every parish in Ibadan Diocese, as it was called at that time. Of course, I belong to St. Luke's Catholic Church and Chaplaincy in UCH, where we trained clinically as doctors, and the Family Church of the Ascension of my canonical parish in Bodija, all of them in Ibadan. Next slide. The outline of my presentation is as is given there, gratitude and felicitations. The second part of it is we need to know where we are, because if we don't know where we're coming from, we don't know where we are, we don't know where to go. And then we get into the substance of the day. The substance of the day is improving sexual intimacy. But there's something more important than improving sexual intimacy now, especially if it's bad now. We need to know the preventative things about it, so we can implement it in those who can implement it now before we deal with the current issue of trying to improve on it. Of course, I'm happy to be here, and I thank Father Thaddeus that now and again invites me to do things. I'm on the WhatsApp forum, but at any point in time, I will have between 1,500 to 4,000 WhatsApp posts I've never read. So I don't come there except something is come to me personally. So it's good that he asked me about this one on a personal note, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful to all those who are here for this seminar, because it means something to me. It means that there are many people who are hungry to improve this world, because it's nearly toxic. Those of you who are in Europe, in America, I don't know how you live there. People in various places, doctors have been stopped from working since their license and being forced to practice unethically. Psychologists are being asked to, by force, to cancel homosexual, and they say no, go to another person. You probably have heard all of that. There is a secular humanist imperialism all over the Western world, and I don't know how you people survive there. So for us to have the numbers that I've seen here, yesterday there were over 1. There are many other people who are Dr. Agatha. Culture, I think she with family life currently. I can't see the slide, And then, of course, there is Sister Pauline, Choma, one of the order of preachers. I think she's in Rome now. She was matron of the St. Dominic's Hospital here. He also organizes similar things like this. And within Nigeria, there are a handful of people who are, trying to do that. And Father Ademike, for example, of Onitsha Diocese, organized Faith Inspiration. Now, a good deal of it has to do with marriage and family life. So there's great hunger for this, and I'm grateful to those who are here, because that means we are going to have company in this activity. The failure of catechesis is the big problem that we have. And Father Amobi Mayo established that improperly. The bishop sent him to Rome for some study. He hasn't come back. So I know about so many of this hunger. Here in Ibadan, the Ibadan province, Catholic province, had involved the Lagos province to run seminars on marriage and family life and produce 2 textbooks, Catechism on Catholic marriage and family life. The Catholic Doctors Association, with the last chaplain, Father Amadasu, wrote a whole book on Catholic ethics handbook for health professionals. And issues like this were also dealt with there. So you can see how wide the hunger is, and how many resources and fora we can all join if we want to get full formation. Now, as I said, if you don't know where you are coming from, and you don't know where you are now, you are not likely to know where you are going. And if you get there, you can pass. So before we deal with the issues that cause lack of intimacy in marriage, we need to know where we are coming from, so that when we provide the preventative education that will help us get every marriage in real intimacy from the word go, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, evil, like poverty, like telling lies, are with us, and they will be with us till the end of time. But some of these evils are very clearly, objectively, and intentionally made by human beings. And we must know it. If we are going to be involved in family life apostolate, we must know it. So we go for the bull's eye rather than walking around, making noise around the matter. As I said, evil, the problem with married life has been with society since the beginning of time. But the worsening of married life maximized towards the end of the Industrial Revolution. As a teacher of history, medical history, public health history, we say we fix arbitrarily, fairly accurately, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution as 1750, and the end of the Industrial Revolution at 1850. At 1850, we have established all the tools that engineer industrialization. It is towards the end of the Industrial Revolution that the movement that brought the chaos we are watching now started. And it was philosophically, you philosophers call it modernism, who mixed up with industrialization, which the theory of Darwin and Robert Malthus used to create the chaos in family life today. Modernism claims that we must find new ways. The modern world has exceeded all the faith system before, and we must find new ways of explaining them. Men left their homes to pursue comfort and wealth, and left their families, their wives and children. Women were looking after their children because their husbands have gone for greener pastures. And with modernism, and the Malthusian and Darwinism theory spreading around the time, they were having mistresses into drugs. So, as some of you may know, in 1850, the women in France that were left at home with their children by husbands who went for all these kind of things formed a society in the Catholic Church called Confraternity of Christian Mothers, so that like will support like, so they can be both husband and wife and mother and father for their children, helping each other. Some of you know about Confraternity of Christian Mothers. That's the story. Shortly after that, the church itself rose to the challenge with the election of Pope Leo XIII. And it started with his encyclicals and other publications and teachings that set up what is now called in the Catholic Church the Catholic social teachings. Rerum Novarum, Arcanum, about family and marriage and family life, to address them, bring them back to what they ought to be. And many students of history will agree that Pope Leo XIII and other people who cooperated with him brought modernism to his heels. They literally disappeared. But by the second decade of the 20th century, they resuscitated in the works of Margaret Sanger in the US and Marie Stopes in London, regurgitating modernism in a new philosophical framework that we ended up now calling secular humanism, worse than modernism. And secular humanism is responsible for what is happening to family today. And it is important to see what secular humanism has done, because it's working at the level of imperialism and word engineering and confusing people with ease. And setting up organizations. In 1933, they published their first manifesto, because in 1930, the Lambeth Conference of the Anglican Church met and said they no longer condemn contraception. Contraception is to be accepted in the light of Christian conscience. Before, men and women were living where they can sleep in different rooms. But now, because of industrialization and living in cities, they sleep in the same room. So when they have sexual attraction, they cannot control it. So they need to use condom. The same year, in July, they arrived at that decision. Pope Pius XI gave them answer in his encyclicals through Divini Ilius Magistri on the training of young people on chastity and married life. And he followed up with Casti Connubii, chaste marriage. Marriage has to be chaste. But the secular humanists have made enough conquest that in 1933, 3 years after, they published their first Bible, the Humanist Manifesto. And they've been making progress since then, setting up organizations, taking over governments. The last article of the Humanist Manifesto is that they will achieve one world government where secular humanist values rule the world. And any government that doesn't follow it has to be roused, has to be thrown. And that's where we are. If you don't accept contraception, if you don't accept abortion, if you don't accept same-sex marriage, they will ruin your government. They revise the curricula. Some of you say you are teaching. Go and look at the curriculum you are teaching. Look at comprehensive sex education. Children as in primary school, class 1 or 2, are going to be shown how to use mud to mold penises and mold vagina and fit it in to get them to overcome their inhibitions, and so on and so forth. That's what secular humanism has done. Same with governments. In the medical school, I went to a conference, Catholic conference, And we are presenting NAPRO technology, the state of the art in natural family planning and fertility and gynecological management of women. I asked a Catholic professor to please go and chair NAPRO technology presentation. He said he can't. So I asked him, what is the problem? He said he has just been elected president-elect of SOGOM, Society of Gynecology and Obstetricians of Nigeria. And that if they hear it, that he chaired a seminar on NAPRO technology, they are going to withdraw the election. So you can see how toxic the medical profession, the teaching profession, even legal profession are today. So it's not something we'll be treating mildly in this circle. People must know where they are, prepare for the war. Secular humanism starts by saying the world is so advanced that everybody can see that all these God-believing religions are not explaining the world we live in, and nobody can depend on them anymore. As can be seen, there is no evidence that God exists. That God exists is an antiquated thing. Nobody should believe it. All the things people pray to God to give them are not, God doesn't give it. What he gives it is science and technology. You want money, you use technology. You want food, you use technology. You want influence, you use technology. You want comfort, air condition, car, you use technology. So God doesn't exist. God didn't do all these things. There is no life after death. Life is only here. You must achieve it here. The purpose of living is happiness. But when you read the Humanist Manifesto, you see they don't understand what happiness is. What they are calling happiness is pleasure. The purpose of living is pleasure. And you have to achieve it now. God-believing religions are the worst sources of conflict and evil in the world. All the worst wars in the world are religious-based. And modern man has a responsibility to found a religion without God, because no one can live without a religion. Religion is the articulation of the metaphysical, how to achieve, the best in life, both of seen and unseen. But that religion must be without God. God-believing religions are not only evil that they cause conflict, but they create limitations that stop people from achieving happiness. They create marriage and say marriage is only man and woman and they must be permanent. But we see virtually every marriage is miserable. Why should people be forced to stay in it? It's not sensible. One of the greatest sources of happiness in the world is sex. And God-believing religions put restrictions around it. That's nonsense. We affirm life. The purpose of life is to achieve wealth, happiness. And religions stop it. If you are living life and life is no longer enjoyable, health services are not good, you have a right to a pleasurable death. Euthanasia is a fundamental human right. Contraception is a fundamental human right. Nobody should stop it. It's all in the Humanist Manifesto, and they pushed it. Take over schools, because there should be no religion there. People then attack them, say, how can you be saying that you are religious humanism? Religion should be humanistic, without God in it. If you say so, that's a religion. So you cannot go and remove other people's religion to put your own. So in 1972, they revised their manifesto, the 1972 manifesto, the revision of Manifesto 1, 72 one became Manifesto 2, says that they are no longer religious, they are just scientific, secular, humanists. They wriggled out of that. So anybody who says he wants to do family life apostolate, I tell you solemnly, go and study secular humanism and all their manifestos. The latest one is 2003. It looks like every 30 years they renew it. I wonder why they didn't renew it. Okay, it has to take another 10 years. So 2003, in another 30 years, it will be 2033. Okay, that's when they'll get Manifesto 4. This is what we are living in. In public health, for example, they have affected what we do, not just in medicine alone, that you teach contraception in the medical school. And my dear brothers and sisters, unfortunately, Catholics are the forefront. They use Catholics the most for this. The guy who told me he cannot chair a seminar on naprotechnology, he's been elected the president-elect of Sogo, had the largest abortion clinic, hospital in the town he practices. And everybody knows it. The guys who are pushing abortion in Nigeria by law, 2 or 3 of the greatest of them and have abortuaries are Catholics. They are. So that's how bad it is where we are. One of these professors got money and went down medical schools, running seminars as a project to ask medical students to demand that abortion be taught in the medical school curriculum as a proper curriculum. Of course, the medical school doesn't teach abortion, optional abortion as a practice. Abortion procedures are taught for inevitable abortion, for incomplete abortion. But abortion of a healthy child is not taught in curriculum. But a Catholic professor got grant to go around the major medical schools, including to do that. So that's what we're living in. In health education in public health, for example, we talk about health education to teach people new things, to influence their knowledge and their attitudes so that they will reinforce the knowledge they have before and their practice to improve the good they are doing for health, or to voluntarily change the bad attitudes and habits and practices they have for health. Now, secular humanism largely introduced a modification of health education that is called health promotion. You brandish some things on people's face and show them the material benefits he gets. And they get doing it. You don't need to teach them all the morality, all the complications of it. Let them get on with it. When they enjoy the material benefit of it, if you start talking to them about the morality, about the physical complications, they will listen to you. Now, family planning, contraception is not called contraception. They don't use the word contraception when they are talking. They're talking about family planning. And you ask yourself, is contraception family planning? When you want to plan a family, if you don't have one, if you're a single adult, the first thing you would do if you want to plan a family is to find somebody to marry, or to discern whether you have a call to marriage if you are spiritually minded. Otherwise, just marry, everybody is marrying. But you find somebody good enough to marry. That's family planning. And when you marry, you plan to beget a child. And you beget a child, that's family planning. Before marriage, if you are spiritually minded, they say don't have sex because sex belongs to marriage. That's family planning. Be chaste, or at least be abstinent if you can't be chaste. Somebody who is abstinent is not necessarily chaste. So all these are family planning.
Hello, Prof.
It's like network threw him out.
Yes, please, let's exercise patience.
Hello, Father.
Yes.
Please, so this slide has been showing on my end. I don't know whether it's my network.
What?
No.
Just one
Say
slide
that-
has been on.
No, it's your network, sorry. Okay, yeah, we are still on the
No,
first slide.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
We are still on the
It's
first
yes.
slide.
Same with mine too.
Okay, thank you.
No,
Yes,
we're
yes,
waiting
yes.
for
Same
yours.
with me. We are
It's
still on the
correct.
first slide, isn't it?
It's correct. It's correct.
Just
Yes.
I
one
don't know
slide.
what is muting me.
Okay, Prof, you're welcome back. Prof, are you there? That's what network can do. Let's exercise a little patience.
Does anybody know why all this thing is happening?
Because you are talking about secular humanism. They don't want
I've
you
been
to.
knocked out 3 times now.
The secular humanists don't want you to dismantle their principle.
You are taking the word to their house. God will help us.
The first law of
Wow.
medicine, ladies and gentlemen, brothers
Is
and
Prof
sisters.
back?
The network
Yes,
belongs
I
to
am
them.
back. The first law of medicine is that above everything, do no harm. That's why you start learning it by studying anatomy, the structure of the human body. You study biochemistry, the chemicals that are in the human body that make it form. The physiology, how it functions.
Please
Somebody
change
has
the
normal
slide,
anatomy.
oh.
Normal physiology, normal biochemistry comes to you, fertile. And you decide that you are going to manage his fertility as a disease. That's a diagnosis. Is that medicine? Then you would go and take drugs and destroy his physiology and biochemistry. So he becomes infertile. Is that medicine? You are just disobeying the fundamental law
Father,
of
change his slide.
contraception is not medicine. Or you take his anatomy and you cut up his vas deferens and tie it, or his fallopian tube and tie it. You say you're doing surgical contraception. Somebody who is healthy, you are damaging his health.
He's still explaining the slide.
Eh?
Please hold on. We shouldn't interrupt the discussion. If you want
The
to make
slide is
any
there.
intervention, if you want to make an intervention, put it on the chat, please.
Okay,
Don't
so
interrupt
he
us.
has gone to the. Yeah, so we must mind all this word engineering because we need to battle that area as well. In the medical school, some of my teachers, when they bring some of these things, and I ask them fundamental questions, they say, okay, Professor, you are true of Dr. They said we will discuss it another time, and they disappear. So we need to be prepared. If we don't rescue the wider world we live in, we'll just be touching the top surface of the thing without going very much far. So that's about where we are now. So we know where we are. So we know what to do. It's enough to deal with these issues, fire brigade at last, but prevention is better. Now, the preventative actions that we need to do, we must know that prevention for anything that is bad is always better, cheaper, cleaner, and indeed a beatitude, because that's how God wanted it to happen. We should give family life education from the womb, if possible. Children, if your wife is pregnant and you pat the baby in the womb, in the belly of your wife, tenderly, the child feels it, knows it. Current studies are showing that you can physically love a child even in the womb. And after they are born, make friends with them. My first 3 children were girls. The house helps who live with us were girls. My wife is a woman. So I was the only man in my house for a long time. When Chukuma, my son, came as fourth child, when I go yesterday, he came, he looked at me, he said, "Daddy, wee." I said, yes, Bobo. And I continued what I was doing. It didn't mean anything to me. After a little while, another week or two, I was urinating. He came there and sat on the door and said, "Daddy, wee." I said, "Yes, my boy," and I went to bath. The third time he came there to ask it, it occurred to me, this boy, there must be something going on in his head. So it occurred to me, yes, he's looking for education. He's seen something unusual. So I thought through it. I said, So I said, Bobo, you see, yes, this is how Daddy wee. When your mommy is here, you come to urinate, she sits on the toilet seat and wee-wees. When your sisters want to wee-wee, they sit on the toilet seat and wee-wee. When the house girl want to wee-wee, she sits on the toilet seat and wee-wee. When you want to wee-wee, we bring you here and you sit on your pole like them and you wee-wee and then we throw it away. You see, when you grow up and be like Daddy, when you want to wee-wee, you bring out your mojo like me and you wee-wee. After that, Chukwuma never asked me about wee-wee again. So those who are wondering, what is this family education, sexuality education? When do we start it? From the womb, we can. Human love can start being taught in the womb. And we shouldn't waste time about it. However, people grow up, teenage, we must start it. When I was in the medical school, one of the clinics I took interest in 1974, actually transmitted disease clinic. The first day I went there, I saw a lady from somewhere in the Niger Delta, 32-year-old, with 2 children. He came with a hole in her vagina, connecting her rectum. So if she has loose stools, they will come out of her vagina. She was suffering a disease they call lymphogranuloma venereal. 2 weeks later, I went back to that clinic. I saw a Fulani woman from Sabo with 2 holes, one connecting her vagina with her rectum. Stool can come out of there. The other one connecting her vagina with her urinary bladder. Urine comes out of it all the time. Again, caused by lymphogranuloma venereal. So I took interest in venereal disease, even as a medical student. By the time I returned to Ibadan in the late 1970s, onto 1980s, we started seeing teenagers come with venereal disease. So I was appalled. And the lady who was a social worker there believed in gray message, cancer, all of this. He believed in karma. Instead of giving counseling that is non-negatively judgmental, he'd be telling them how God was going to punish them. And the young people will abuse her there. I tried to correct her. I found she was not going to be corrected. So I started doing what eventually we started calling Adolescent Youth Congress. I went to secondary school, beginning with St. Louis Mokola, 1986, to Loyola College, 87, to St. Anne's, to Government College. We went down Ibadan doing this. And all the young people who took part in those congresses, 3 weekends, 3 Saturdays, wherever they see me, they are talking to me about it. How life, one sent me a word recording that I should like to share with many of you. That he knew what marriage was. He knew the kind of person he must marry. He has never had any problem with it. That's what we should be doing. We can't wait until people have married and then they have problem and we start running up and down, to deal with it. So let us know that. However, in my parish, when Catholics want to marry non-Catholics and they come for marriage preparation, when they finish, the non-Catholics tell us, you Catholics are terrible people. You hoard all this knowledge in your church. If it's others, they will find societies, they'll be charging people, they will even be coming. But because you hoard it here, people think it's something else. If I knew what I knew from here, my life would have been so radically different. Tell everybody to come to your weekly Saturday marriage and family life seminar from age 13. We have tried to do so for nearly 20 years now in our parish. It didn't work. So we now ask the Sion Catholic Youth Organization, send one delegate for every quarter. In one quarter, you will cover the 22 seminars that we run every Saturday, so that he can report back to you. That's where we are. Our people don't want to listen. And until we take it outside, whatever is constraining it, people must be taught what love is. Love is not sex. Love is not eros. The other things I forgot to mention that I crept into the church is, what is happening with ordinary people like me is happening with consecrated people. You people who are consecrated, you people will tell me, between 1966 and 1976, the secular humanists published a book in America called The Joy of Sex. The Joy of Sex. In the Catholic Church, the present Pope published an encyclical called Amoris Laetitia. The Joy of Amorous Love. The same thing. The same thing. And I went to the Congress on Catholic Families in Ireland shortly after that. We had one plenary after the other, trying to explain what the Pope is saying. Is Pope supposed to be saying something other people have to be explaining to us? A Pope is supposed to affirm the faithful, affirm them, like Pope John Paul II, like, Pope Benedict, like all the recent Pope Paul VI. Affirm the faith. Pope Pius XI, Pope Leo XIII, affirm the faith. And now the other day we have this, what is this one about blessing homosexual couples? What is that? We bless everybody. The Catholic Church blesses everybody. We know the Catholic Church blesses everybody. So should there be a book to talk about blessing homosexual couples? That's how much secular humanism has been infiltrated into the church. People say the Pope is doing good. Yes, 95% of good and 5% of demonic evil is bad. We should be praying. They can't derail the church. They can't. But they are there. Let nobody have doubt about it. That's why we should go and arm ourselves properly on what to do. We must start educating people by NGOs. We form, I mentioned at the beginning, we have two. Adolescent Youth Congress from my effort. My wife was helping me. In 1992, she said she doesn't believe in adolescents being taught alone. The parents must be involved. So she formed Association for Family Life Education and Services, AFLES, and we run it. That's the organization that run a weekend seminar in all the parishes in Ibadan Diocese at the time. So that's what we'll be doing. We should form NGOs within the church, outside the church. The church has apostolates to do that. So if we do that, people will come to marriage ready, haven't descended. They know what love is. Love is agape. Love is divine philia, Latino. Love is divine platonic or divine philia, Greek, social love. Love is also eros, but erotic love belongs to animals. It doesn't belong to the Trinity love of God. The Trinitarian love of God is agape, divine philia, and divine platonic. And they have objectives in our lives. And any of us who can love in those three capacities, to anybody we meet, their needs in all those three areas, we don't know what love is. And we must distinguish between the Trinitarian love to which we are invited, whose image and likeness we are created, from the erotic love that was just a gift given to be managed seriously in the context of marriage, discernment, and marriage itself. People must be taught that marriage is a companionship of two people united I am back.
Okay, Prof, you have 15
Marriage
minutes. Prof, sorry, you have 15 minutes to
is a journey of
conclude.
companionship of two people who become one person, joined in divine love, divine filial love, and divine platonic love, and who only admit errors into this love as God requires it to be. Not all the time. That's what
I don't know what is the cause of the network Prof is having.
I'm trying to link on with my laptop to see whether it will make a difference. And this handset. People must learn that chastity is the deferment of erotic love, no matter who is causing it, because of a greater love of yourself, of that person causing it, and of God. It is the exercise of your godhood, the exercise of agape, divine philia, and divine platonic only towards somebody without errors. And that's what makes you God. So it's a beatific thing to be able to love people with the Trinitarian love of God, those Trinitarian loves without errors. Won't you like to exercise your godhood?
Prof, please, could you put off your video? I think it's affecting your network.
Oh, okay.
Remove
Okay.
your video, please.
Okay, that's fine. So I hope you'll be all right now. So people must know those four loves, and that eros is not anything to be boastful or happy about outside the confines of marriage, to celebrate the marriage. Because, ladies and gentlemen, tell me if you know any other thing, any other circumstance in which a man and a woman becomes one person, soul, spirit, mind, heart, and body, except in the act of sexual intercourse. There is no other time. If I hold your hand, both your hand and my own are calcified. The skin cannot allow any substance of me to touch your own. No fluid from my body can touch you. We are not one. We are separated thoroughly. It is only the act of sexual intercourse in which a person inserts part of him in another person with no calcified or lignified thing, and body fluids of both of them are mixing up and touching each other. So therefore, as John and Shirley Kipley said, sexual intercourse, or the marital embrace, to be correct, because that's the only place sexual intercourse should happen. The marital embrace is the sacrament of marriage. It's a beatitude. It's a holy communion. It is the only act where the marriage, you can see it. When you have sexual intercourse with somebody, you are saying, you and I are one person. Soul, spirit, mind, heart, and body, as everybody can see if you're having it in the open, like the Americans having on the seaside now, and the Canadians, and the white people. But normal people don't do that. If anybody were to be watching you, they will know that you are one person. That's the only time that reality of marriage, two people who become one person, is enacted. So sexual intercourse is a holy communion. It's a celebration of the unity, the true unity of people who marry. So it's not something to go and be having like an idiot. If you are going to receive Holy Communion tomorrow at Mass, you don't go to the Mass and then when Father is consecrated, you say, Father, I want to go to confession because I think I... No, you will think about it. If you are going to go to Mass tomorrow, by today you would have gone to confession. Sexual intercourse is like that. No couple should have it unless their marriage is worth celebrating. So if you have a quarrel, you should learn to stop it. When people will learn about this in courtship, there are 4 things you do in normal life, people who are not married, everybody, in order to grow in intimacy. You must talk together. You must play together games. You eat together and you pray together. Those are 4 acts you do with only friends. With people who want to know you and you want to know them and you want to grow in intimacy. You don't do it with enemies. If you see anybody who eats with enemies, people they know want to kill them, please show me the person. That person is madder than all the mad people in the world together. So those are the kind of things that you do. If sexual intercourse occurs to you, you are not a dog. If you have learned the act of chastity, that you are a child of God, and therefore you are God, and you live in that realm. You don't
Excuse me,
enter
Prof.
yes.
Prof, please, you have 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
I will finish now. Yes. So if people do that, if they do these 4 things, and make sure their marriage is at the level that it can be celebrated, then sexual intercourse can occur. And it will be a beatitude. And natural family planning assists in that, because natural family planning teaches you self-control, teaches you chastity. One of the greatest acts of intimacy a man can say to his wife is that, you know, I felt like having sexual intercourse today, but when I looked at the chart, I know it has no place. So I dismissed it. My God, if you know any greater act of intimacy, statement of intimacy, and love and respect than that, you show it to me. I don't know why. So, in order to grow in intimacy, couples must learn to talk together. Seriously. Men need to be taught seriously, but women also need to be taught. The secular marriages have gone to school with menopause, with sexual asthenia, various circumstances as sexual asthenia normally. And they are calling it they call, in men, they say it's andropause. And usually many women, because of the culture we grew up, once they are menopausal, they say they don't want to have sex anymore. That's nonsense. Sexual intercourse is a requirement of marriage. It is the sacrament of marriage. And when I was young, I wasn't married. I had the privilege to give in the charismatic renewal healing ministry to treat a woman who came because they were married when they were in secondary school. She was, the husband was in final year. They finished, the husband left for work and they never lived together. And she didn't get pregnant. She finished secondary school and stayed in the East. The husband was there working and getting admission to university before he was able to work and get accommodation. She came. They've been infertile they haven't had a child for 5 years. And they started, the infertility continued. And the husband developed precipitate ejaculation from stress from the infertility. So, the woman came troubling us. So after I taught her natural family planning, I said, listen, they describe about the precipitate ejaculation. I said, don't worry yourself. If you are tender to your husband, even if he has precipitate ejaculation, just be tender to him. He will have sexual arousal again. Don't criticize him. Don't say, what are you doing? All you need is for his ejaculation to occur on your vagina or your private part when you have cervical mucus. You will get pregnant. Did that not happen? And within the next 8 years, they had 4 children, and they had to turn the rules upside down to start spacing births. And everywhere I go, I see many women who said, you don't remember me again. I came to your office because of infertility, and you taught me in your office. That's how I got my first baby, and then we started having children. The Catholic Church has answers to these things. And those causes that when people lose interest in sexual intercourse, like precipitate ejaculation, because of stress, any man who has stress can have precipitate ejaculation, and he can have sexual asthenia. Any woman who has infertility may develop sexual asthenia, and they can all have therapy, both in individual and sometimes group, and they overcome it. But the key thing to intimacy is to learn to live their marriage as perfectly as it ought to be, something worth celebrating, so that sexual intercourse becomes an addition to the 4 dynamics of human relationship, of talking seamlessly together, no secrets, eating together, playing together, and praying together. And if they come to these other phases, that sexual intercourse may have difficulties, they can be counseled over them, and they are easily understandable and treated, so they can grow back in the intimacy that they needed to have. So that's where I am going to stop. Basic, we must do prevention, and we must teach people in marriage about sources of intimacy, the 3 P's and the G, and to live their marriage was marriage. But I had told my wife that I had been praying to God to allow her to do to me the worst thing she can ever do to me in life, because that's how I become a better person, to learn to tolerate them. But I know my wife, I examined her with electron microscope before we married. She's an angel. So to say do the worst thing in the life is not to do the kind of thing we hear women do to the husband, because she's incapable of it. But the test of your love is your capacity to bear anything your spouse brings about in your marriage. That's what Jesus did. And if we do so, we can only grow in intimacy in that marriage and repair it and be counseled to improve on them. Thank you, and over.
Thank you so much, dear Professor MC Asozo. Thank you. We really appreciate your presentation. Thank you. Now it's time for interventions. Let us ask our questions, make our contributions, our comments. We have the time to do that. It's going to be interactive. You also have time to react to the past presentations in case you wanted to say something yesterday or a day before yesterday, but opportunity was not given to you. So we have the time. We shall do this for 30 minutes, 30 good minutes to make this intervention. Once again, Prof, we are grateful for your presentation. If you want to say something, please raise your hand. I will call you. If you wish, you can also type it on the chat. I will read it out. I now call on the first person, Galaxy X7. Please unmute yourself and speak to us. Okay, Galaxy is not ready. Second person, Audrey Gillivian. Please unmute yourself and speak to us.
Good evening, Prof. My daddy, I greet you. This is your daughter. For lunch.
I know it's you.
I want you to throw light on the craze about exploring funny methods of sexual intercourse because it's going crazy now. Many couples say that the traditional sexual intercourse is a problem to them, and thereby they explore different methods and styles which they import from the media or somewhere there. And this is causing some problems, especially for some women. So I want you to throw light on that.
Okay. Shall we take the questions in groups or one at a
No,
time?
we take one after the other. One after the other.
Okay. Okay, fine. What are these methods that are, have sex in the anus, have it in the armpit, have it in the mouth? They don't make sense. They are sources of disease. They know that. That's largely how HIV/AIDS came out. The anus is not, it has sphincter. Penises can't enter there. And people force it there, they traumatize them. And they start having anal problems. And they spread diseases that, organisms that have no business there. So God, who created us, knew what he created. He put the penis in the right place and he puts where it should go in an equivalent place. So issues, I mean, unless people raise issues like that after menopause, for example, women may feel dry in the vagina or during breastfeeding. How do you help a woman to lubricate her vagina or her prostate to make sexual intercourse normal? That's a different thing. But to decide to have sex in the mouth, in the anus, in the armpit, that's crazy now. That has no biological basis. It is the basis for disease. And if they are not satisfied with HIV/AIDS, they will have more diseases coming from it. So we should persuade them it's not a sensible thing to do. It's neither biological or health promoting. If they don't want to do so, please leave them alone. Don't break your neck on people who don't want to listen to facts. Live your own life so beatifully that they will see that that's what to do. Next question. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just add my voice to that.
Yes.
Someone has asked me a question when I was teaching faith in the parish, St. Paul Soyibo, a few years ago, asked me that whether it's right, a similar question for couples to have sex on the armpits. In fact, some even have it on the breast, but the stance of the church still remains. The stand of the church still remains that sex should be vaginal. That's vaginal sex, not anal sex, mouth sex, and all of that. these are becoming, all these forms, are just animalistic way. Sex is something sacred. And I like a book produced by the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ibadan Ecclesiastical Province. It's titled Catechism of Marriage. Catechism of Marriage, yeah. The bishops really did justice to that, where they explain it that as Christians, as Catholic Christians, you shouldn't engage in all these forms of sex, having it on different parts of the body. God that created the penis and the vagina is not foolish. We can't be wiser than God. Say, okay, we want to do it in our own way. We are not tired of the traditional way. We want to invent our own ways. And yet, some people are not satisfied. They now go to be having it with animals, with their dogs, with cows, and other, because they are tired of the traditional way. They want something different. That's human beings for you. That's human beings for you. If we understand that sex in the Catholic theology of sex holds that sex has a unity purpose and a procreative purpose, it will help us to remain on that traditional way. Of course, it is something sacred. John Paul II says that sex is not only the joining of the two bodies, but also the joining of the souls. That is the spiritual dimension of sex. It makes sex different from what animals do have. Please let us understand this, and it will help us. It will help you in your married life. Thank you. We take the second person, Galaxy X7. If you are ready, please unmute yourself. If not, you can put your hand down. You have the opportunity now, Galaxy X7. Okay, I call up Peter Kolawole. Peter Kolawole, unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Prof. Prof, you scared me this night. Mentioning this secular humanists again. I've been trying to read about it. How do we fight them back? Because now the church is becoming a different thing. Men are plaiting their hair, and the youth having the earrings on, and they are just everywhere. What would the church do? Please advise us. Many people didn't know the danger of this secular humanists. They do a lot of training. They sponsor a lot of people. They do a lot of leadership. They have their crosses down. They do so many things that people think that this is the real born again. So what do we do, Prof? Thank you very much.
Well, I've told you that I formed the Adolescent Youth Congress in 1986. My wife formed the Association for Family Life Education and Services to give the services in the way she believes in it. Parents, children together, so that whatever we did, the parents will keep reinforcing it because they have knowledge. So there are various family life apostolates in the church, and the charismatic renewal probably can have some there. They are accurate, can be persuaded, you can have a program with Sion in your parish. We are the church, you. And many times when once you call it church, the Catholics are the last to go there. The other people will go. If you go to University of Ibadan anytime, especially on Saturday or Sunday, you see all these organizations are there. Don't know where they get the money to pay. And the young people would like to go there. And they indoctrinate them like hell. So young people like things organized outside of the normal framework. Every one of us should put his thinking cap on and find the answers we can give to it, whether within the church or outside. That's the way I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abba Shields. Abba.
Prof, thank you very much. This was an excellent presentation. In my work with married couples, I've come across a couple who were actually on the brink of divorce because of this problem of sexual intimacy, but they had other problems. But I remember one particular problem was the woman wanted to be tied up. She wanted to be tied up with handcuffs, and the man wasn't prepared to do that. How do I, and I said it wasn't Christian, but the woman is not Catholic, the man was Catholic. How do we approach these issues? Thank you.
She wants handcuffed.
Yes, please. That's what she wants.
She wants to be handcuffed.
Correct. But I also learned
Why
that
she's having sex.
yes, and she's not Catholic, but he is. But I also learned just from listening actively that she was coming from a background where, there are two Africans, and she's coming from a background where father never married mother. So there had been some trauma in her life. But I don't know if that's any connection, but it was a bit strange, but I don't know.
Yes, those kind of people need a clinical psychologist to look at them, go into their history and find out things to exercise the psychotherapy on. People, adolescents who undertake family life education, wearing such people and capable of loving them irrespective of what they are, they're able to overcome those kind of things. But if we meet them at the level you are talking about, the best thing to do is to refer them to a clinical psychologist who can get into the root of the problem and give them psychotherapy. But for a person to want to have handcuffed to have sex is abnormal. It's terribly abnormal.
Yes.
So it's deeper than any simple counseling.
Thank you very much.
Chinwe Okoye.
Chioma, you are there. Are you there?
Thank you. I'm here. This is Chinwe. Thank you very much. Prof, thank you so much. And Badru, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not really a question, or maybe it's a question. I want to say something because I know God created things for a purpose. And we know that really, or he leads us to that. Honestly, I don't believe that penis under the armpit is sex. It's when the penis is inside the vagina that it is sex. So every other thing outside there, father and the prof, I don't think it's sex. It could be anything they want to call it, but it's not sex. I also want to add that some of these things that is happening is because there has been a plan.
Voice is breaking, so I didn't get what you said.
There has been a plan to get human beings dehumanized by reducing the bondage in the family. Family bonding. So as to free some of the kind of grip and love the parents has on the children that makes children get controlled by their parents' desires and instruction. Even if it's what I don't want to do, I would say my mom will not be happy, my dad will not be happy, I'll try to comply. It's been there for decades, long decades, more than 10, 15 decades. And now this has permeated into our society. So just like the other person said, what's the solution? The solution is that what we are doing now, we keep teaching and we keep talking, especially from our family. That's the solution. But I am objecting to the fact of calling penis in the anus sex, penis under the pan, under the distant sex. I don't know what they call it. But for me, I think once it's outside this vagina, it's no more sex. It's any other thing they want to call it, but it's not sex because the two has been made for each other. It's just like turning the mortar and be hitting it inside on top of the piston. So if I would like you to explain to me, is it really sex, those things they are doing? Honestly, I object to it that it's not sex. Thank you. Thank you for all the information. I'm really enlightened. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Prof, do you want to respond to that? All right, very quickly. Whether they call it SERS or they do not call it SERS, our point still remains that such action.
Did anybody get what she was asking? Her line was breaking all the time.
No. She asked. I don't see it as a question anyway. She intervenes that calling any activity, any sexual activity that takes place inside the armpits, or on the breast, or any part outside the vagina is not really
This is
sex.
crazy. Is it my phone that is at fault or what?
That is not really sex. MC Prof, can you hear us? Okay, like I was responding to that. Of course, going by the terminology.
Is it my phone that is at fault? Because I wasn't hearing her.
Yeah, Prof, I think your network is affected because I heard her clearly. I think it's from your own side.
It's from my own end.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, but I'm responding to that quickly. I'm responding to what she said quickly. So I'm just explaining that. Yeah, I'm explaining that that activity in the real sense goes contrary to the meaning of cells, goes contrary to church teaching on cells, goes contrary to the theological understanding of cells. Once you do it any other place, that is not where it's supposed to be, that nature has made it to be, definitely it goes contrary to our theological or ecclesiastical understanding of cells. Okay? So whether they call it cells or they don't call it cells or call it whatever, that is what it is. We don't encourage couple to start having yours, like, doing the insertion in the penis or in the mouth, and of course, by doing that, you are not bringing something else into your intimacy. But those who do not share our faith, we say that doesn't matter. You can do it anyhow you want. It is your body, and some even say that the church does not have authority to tell you what to do in your bed, in your bedroom, is your private life. The church does, because the church is there to help you attain salvation. Wherever you are, whether in your bedroom or in your sitting room, the church has that moral obligation, religious obligation, spiritual obligation to let you know those things that can help you attain salvation. So the point still remains that whether it is done, whether it involves the vagina and the penis, or the armpits, the chest, the mouth, and the tongue, there should be that distinction. This is how it should be. Any other thing outside that is bringing something else within the context of your marriage, and that is the church position on that. Okay?
Father, before the current craze, in the medical profession, those behaviors were called paraphilias, abnormal sexual behavior. There are people who don't enjoy, in quote, sexual intercourse unless they're inflicting harm on the person they're having sex with. That's abnormal. There are people who don't want to have sex with normal people. They want to have sex with dogs, with goats, with sheep, with dead people. There are people who want to just masturbate and have sexual pleasure, sexual involution. All these were called paraphilias, even up to 1980. The secular humanists got upper hand and say you can have sex anywhere. You can have with dogs. You can have with your brother, your sister. Incest has become, and there are textbooks. Make it happy. Safe sex for teenagers. There are textbooks. How to have sex with animals. How to have sex with dogs. How to have the best love in the world. Sexual love is your brother with your sister whom you already loved before now. So these are all devilish situations that secular harmonism have brought, thrown God out of the place. If they say they don't want to hear what religion, Catholic Church is not teaching people only going to heaven. It's teaching them how to be, not to achieve good happiness, even here on earth. How can you do things that don't make sense? What is the function of spermatozoa inside the rectum? It has no biological function there. Why do you want to break the anal sphincter and then you have disease there? No, penis is not supposed to enter there. So all these are abnormalities we have known before. It is the work of secular humanism. If anybody decides that's what he's going to follow, that is religion, we leave him alone. We shouldn't break a tear about, lose a tear on those kind of matters. Okay, Father, sorry.
We call on Infinix Hot 10. Infinix Hot 10. Unmute yourself. Infinix Hot 10.
All right, Father, thank you so much. Professor, thank you. I had been following through this workshop and I'm really impressed on what I have learned so far. But my question really, we've been talking about effective parenthood and fertility and natural family planning. Then my question really is, why the church, like Prof suggested, which is a welcomed idea, to begin on time, to catch them young, and not necessarily waiting when the youth are preparing for marriage, possibly during marriage course to be exposed to sexual educations. My question is this: why we encourage all this family plan and other aspects that we have showcased? What is the church doing in the area of encouraging? We discovered that in the past, and we discovered that a man who is capable of taking care of 6 children financially, this modern people adhering to children tray as a result of family planning. Don't you think what is sustaining the world today? What is sustaining the church today is the Catholic, politically, economically, and any way you can think about it. Then, my question remains this: don't you think this Christianity will go into extinction?
Catching a flight to see family.
Like I use someone who is capable financially. You discover that person ends up having 2 or 3 children. But the other religion, like the Islam, you see a man with 4 wives, having up to 20 children. And maybe you see what's happening in the whole world. This is the track having the world. The determination can encourage those who are capable of raising children to do that and not restrict to 2, 1, or even 3. So I'm talking about those who are capable. Please, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Prof, do you want to respond?
I didn't get the question, though.
Okay. He asks, what is the church doing? No, we'll be talking. Okay, Prof, the question is not even for you. The person that will respond is Sister Kelechi. If Sister Kelechi is here, but I will add my voice to that. The question is, we'll be talking about responsible parenthood.
Yes.
And in the church, we have people, there are
Father, I'm
a
here.
rich
When
family.
you're done.
Okay, you see a rich family that prefers to have only 3 children or 2 children, whereas people from other religion may have like 20. A good example is Italy, where I am right now. You see that many of them don't even have children, and they record the lowest, what is it called again, infertility rate in the world. You will see the Lebanese, people from different parts of, the Muslim world, having 20, 10, 15, whatever, while maybe Catholics have only 2, 3, 4. So his question is that what will be the negative impact of that in the society? Okay, Sister Kelechi.
Father, first and foremost, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. If he was there yesterday, last night, my definition of responsible parenthood included a couple who decides to be generous in having large family. So the church in no way limits the number of children that a couple should have. It even says if you're deciding to have fewer children, in your conscience, that decision is made after a very considerable amount of time is spent in prayer and reflection and looking at your resources. And I mentioned those resources last night. So the church actually encourages couples to be generous in deciding the number of the children they have, depending on their own resources. Okay. Now, we know where we are now. Prof was mentioning things about the family today. The fact is, the secular society, or whatever Prof calls them now, the secular humanism has infiltrated our society, and the church is part of that society, unfortunately. So we are kind of practicing what is happening there. So it's not about what would the church, it's about we who especially. In fact, the Second Vatican Council, encourages lay persons, lay people who are actually there, right there in the field, right there in the society. Yeah, your mission is to carry out these things and be countercultural to secular humanism. All these things they are bringing in, having fewer children becomes a status. It's not right, and it's not the church's making. The church is not encouraging it. When we are teaching responsible parenting, we are not saying, please cut down the number of your children. The church has no right either, saying you must have this number of children, but it leaves that to the couples. But it encourages couples to be generous in deciding the number of children they have, because the church believes that God is the one that provides resources anyway for bringing up these children. So I don't know what that makes meaning to you, but you should take up laypersons, right in the side, should take up that responsibility and say, how can we encourage ourselves, to have, especially those, like he said, those who have the means. Why are they having less children? What is the reason? Let's find out why. If you have the resources, why do you have less children? Except maybe selfishness and greed. You don't want disturbance and all that kind of thing. People like my parents, we are still 10. And I know they counted themselves blessed even onto the last minutes of their life because they had this large family. So let's find out, those who have the resources, why would they want to have only 2 or 3 children when they can have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or even 10? We still have couples in the Catholic Church today who are having many children, and they are also doing natural family planning. Like I said, when you get into natural family planning, you want to choose life. You want everything that has to do with culture of life. That's what you want to do. And this whole thing, contraception, is really what brought her in all this, having one child or 2 children, and even having no child. In fact, in the wedding ceremony, a couple is asked, are you willing and ready to take children as God will send to you? If they say no, we don't want children, that wedding will not take place. Father, you are doing canon law. You can correct me if I'm wrong. That wedding.
Yeah, okay, sister. I want to pick up from your last point. Thank you
If
so
I may
much.
say something before Father takes over, please. On a whole, if you go around the world, the Christian world, the Catholics have more children than other groups of people who call themselves Christian or whatever non-Islamic religions are, except the Mormons that have children like no man's business. They permit polygamy, encourage people to have children, plenty, and they do it. But outside of that, the Catholics have more children than any other person. And the church encourages us to have many children. But we must be responsible. You can't have children like Muslims and then they are Almajiris and they go begging. No. And that's why they end up in Boko Haram and all this jihadism, go and kill people. Because they're living miserable lives. They have nothing to be proud of. So go and kill this, they go and kill. We can't be there. We can't be encouraging ourselves to live like that. Catholic Church encourages generosity. Those who listen to secular monist thinking and materialism and decide to be selfish, they are not living what the church says. Over. Father, please.
Okay, thank you. I was talking about a country recording the lowest fertility. I just want to say something on the last point Sister Kelechi made. Yeah, Sister Kelechi, you are very correct. According to canon law, a couple who enters into marriage while excluding the possibility of having children contracts an invalid marriage. And it is a point of annulment. Some marriages have been annulled based on this. You are entering into marriage, you do not have the intention to have a child. The marriage you are entering becomes invalid. That is to tell you, the emphasis or the importance of fertility or procreation in marriage. The church will not say, if you enter into marriage, do not have a child or have only one or two. No, but just as Sister mentioned, according to your capability, how are you going to train them and all of that? It is a point to take. Thank you. We call on Eugene. Unmute yourself.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Prof, and thank you, Father. Okay, mine, I have one as a follow-up, a suggestion, and one is a question. The brother, maybe 2 or 3 before now, mentioned what I wanted to mention, but I just want to add to it in the sense that similar comment was made today in one of our marriage classes that we should actually, she was proposing. So when Prof mentioned the same thing, instead of waiting till marriage class before teaching young adults things around this sex, can't it be done earlier, like from 13 or thereabout? So I am saying it should go beyond just saying things like this in seminars, but making it to be enshrined in the Catholic Church and let it be enforced, because it will really help. It will really help in kind of arresting some of these issues that are happening when things had already gone bad at that stage, when some people don't even understand so many things before they come to marriage class. That is one aspect. So the thing I'm calling out here is how to make it a Catholic thing. So it shouldn't be just at seminars or at marriage classes that the discussion will be done. Let it be enshrined as a Catholic teaching, and then it goes down. Now, to my own question, I wanted to know, because I didn't really join from the onset. Like, I've had a case where a man said he no longer derives pleasure in making love to his wife. And yes, he was having issue because I was able to pick out that he was having depression at the time he met me. So I prescribed two things. One is to look at his wife and remember the first day he met her. That will elicit that joy in him and will make him to be turned on because he wasn't really getting sexual desires again. And secondly, to try beyond missionary style and do other stuff. So I was still a young graduate then. So I want to know whether, practicing different styles outside of missionary style is allowed by the Catholic Church. That's one. And then to cap all my comments is to ask if we can get the slides that were treated for these 3 days. Because not all of them, I couldn't join the first day because by the time I remember, it was already late. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, very quickly, let me just respond to that. We move to the next person. Definitely, when it comes to sex styles in marriage, the church does not say don't use this style or don't use that style. That is not what we are talking about. And there is no church documents that tells Catholics the style they should adopt in their sexual intimacy. Okay? But any style, whatever it is, should be one that does not contradict the unitive and the procreative purpose of sex. Okay? So there is no one that the church says that do not use this style or do not use that style. I'm here to encounter a document on that. Prof, you want to say something? You want to add to that, please?
A person who is depressed should go and get medical care.
Okay.
It's not that the person is depressed. He should go and receive treatment for depression to get out of his depression. A person who is depressed have no business with style or whatever the sex style is being taught. He has no interest there. Somebody who has no appetite, you say, go and eat this other food. He has no appetite. What he needs is to recover his appetite, whatever is causing him to lack appetite. And depression is worse. Stress does the same thing. A man who is stressed and the stress is not dealt with quickly will have effect in his sexual life. And it's not the sex style that is going to change it. It's going to have his illness treated. So a person who is ill should go and have it treated, like depression.
Thank you.
Please.
Concerning the slides have been sent in this chat. Then in the WhatsApp group, they have also been sent. If you need it personally, maybe after the program, I will send them again in the WhatsApp or to you personally. I now call on Regina Tombere to speak. Please let our interventions be brief, okay? Regina Tombere, unmute yourself.
Reverend Sister.
Sister Regina? Okay, we go to Adobe Hero. Adobe, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Professor Sozo, for this wonderful presentation. I want to add to what Prof just said now. You know, mental health issue is something that we are not always talking about in this part of the world. And I tell you that some of these so-called sexual styles, sexual orientation, some of them have like an underlying mental health issue attached to it. You know, like what I normally tell people sometimes, I said, when a man say, I like my fellow man, I want to marry my fellow man, and people say, is their right? Look at it. It's possible that when you take that person through counseling, you know, or for psychological examination, you know, even drugs, you see that the person's sexual orientation will come to normal. So I think there is need for us, when people begin to make some of these I want this animalistic styles and stuff like that, we should also check out if they have any underlying health issues, you know, things like compulsive sexual disorder. That is one. Then the second one I want to say is that there is need for us to consider sexual orientation of our intending partner before marriage. You know, this is something that the young ones don't look into. And sometimes we parents will shy away from it. There's nothing wrong from asking your son or your daughter that wants to go into marriage about the sexual orientation of the person he or she wants to get married to. If you are not meeting a girl as a virgin, you know, you should be able to ask the person, the number of boyfriends she has had in the past, you know, ask her most preferred sexual styles. You know, some of these things will help you to know if you will cope in that marriage. Because the truth is that sexual problem is, in fact, it destroys marriage more than even financial problems. When people come with problems and they are just going around, you know, when you look at it deep, you say that it's sexually related. So sexual orientation is very, very important, you know, so that you will know if you will cope or you cannot cope. A lady came to me one time and was like, she's tired of marriage. So I asked her, she said that the husband prefers oral sex more than vaginal sex. And that the worst is that in the act of the sex, the husband will release in her mouth. And if she tries to vomit it, the man will be angry. That is like she is rejecting wherever. And that thing is causing serious problems. And the worst is that sometimes when she tries to tell people about it, they will tell her, your husband will, if you don't do it, other women will come and snatch it from you. And that woman has been living in pains, living in regrets, you know, all sorts of things. So I think this sexual orientation is very, very important. The single ones don't play with it. We mothers, we should call our daughter, our son, sit them down. We should prioritize it before they get into marriage, so that we won't start having, you know, some of these issues, you know, up and down. Thank you very much.
God bless you. God bless you. Sister Regina, are you ready now?
Yes. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. My contribution is, when we talk about having the resources to take care of the children, we should remember that resource is not only what money can buy. Resource also, and more importantly, entails the ability to be present to them. How many children can you be available to them so that you train them, you parent them to become useful citizens in future? The next I want to talk about is, somebody made mention yesterday of a situation where the man wants sex here and now. Now, if a man wants sex here and now, he moves from cerebrocentric to genocentric sex. He just like any animal. But you know, the woman can help the man in the way that he will come to his senses. Now, when preparing for marriage, the man and the woman both should attend, so that at the end, it is the man who chats what the woman observes. They put it where both of them have access to the chat. When the man, so that they have agreed when they will get their children, what they want, whether they want to abstain or they want to get more. So that if the man wants, he doesn't want, the woman will have to refer to the chat for him. And you don't wait, women shouldn't wait till the man has moved from being a human being to being an animal in behavior before the person begins to kick. against, because you will not be able to control at that time. The woman should know her man, know where to press, know where he is getting off hand, and then call the person's attention and not wait till it is too late. You call the person's attention to what you want. If he doesn't want, you can keep the chat on the bed and disappear. Thank you.
God bless you. We call Peter Johnson. Peter Johnson, unmute yourself. Okay, Peter Johnson, I think you are not ready. I call on Professor Choma Sozo. Prof, unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Father. I wish to appreciate Professor MC for his presentation this evening and for all those who have also contributed. And I want to just add, Professor Suso told us so much about sexual abstinence, enhancing sexual relationship and things like that. I also just want to chip a little at that point, that for husband and wife to actually enjoy sex, they should be at par. There are certain little things that enhances some of these things. Apart from examining yourself, whether you are quarreling with your husband or you're quarreling with your wife, I want to talk about things like little hygiene. People should prepare also to have sex from that point. Somebody will come back from home, he just thinks he has to bounce on the wife. He has not taken his bath, things are not clean, and women don't like things like that. We should prepare ourselves to receive this holy communion of husband and wife. And little things, little hygiene and all, they are very, very important. Even meals, they are very, very important as preparing for this very thing. And I think many women have complained about this hygiene when I go and give a talk or when I have therapy with some of them, about, their husband will not be able to take their bath, their husband will not be able to do this, and they are forcing them and insisting that this must happen that way. And I think it's from the point of lack of communication. If we communicate properly, we should be able to communicate also that aspect gently to our spouses. Also, building sexual chastity in marriage. It's very, very fundamental. And it starts very early when we are parenting our children, because sexual control is getting control even when you are young. How do we build self-control in the family? Children coming from families where they have control, self-control, when they grow up, they will also be able to imbibe sexual self-control. Because you cannot succeed in sexual chastity in marriage without having sexual self-control. It's very, very important. And you cannot practice natural family planning and enjoy it very well without sexual self-control. You must have it. You must agree that you have to practice it, and two of you have to do it. When people quarrel, there's conflict in marriage, there's something we do assessment. The issue, our last sister that talked about mental health issue, very, very germane at this point. Because of parents, husbands and wives, they are passing through a lot of stress. And if they have pathological issues in them already, this stress may provoke some of these things and they start acting out. That is why if you not think you are not feeling very well mentally, seek out, even if it's a counseling psychologist, even if a clinical psychologist, or even a psychiatrist. If you have clear depression, you need drug to be able to treat depression with psychotherapy. Psychotherapy alone may not be able to treat real depression. And so that is why if a man is depressed, he can never be interested in having sex. And there are issues where some men, we say they don't want to get involved with sex. At times we think it's only men that like sex, women don't like sex. Some women may like sex even more than their husbands. I had a client like that. The husband is not interested at all. And the husband is not interested in what happens. He's just not interested. You know, and this kind of couple may need therapy to get them out of the hook. There's another negative trend that is coming up now, where incest is the way things are going now, especially fathers having carnal knowledge of their daughters. And I think mothers should not keep quiet to this very abnormality. And this is a product of dysfunctional families. This kind of thing should not happen. It should not happen. And people should open their eyes. Parents should open their eyes to this kind of thing. We should not keep quiet to it. It's an abnormality. It's an aberration. It should not happen. But you see it happening in certain areas, certain instances, and we should not encourage that. We should not encourage that, and that should not happen. That should be taken out. And fathers that are behaving this way need psychotherapy. They are not acting well. It is an abnormality,
Okay, Prof.
and God does not like it. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you, Prof. Peter Johnson.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me, Father?
Yes.
Only
Okay.
Father, I want to hear you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure Prof is with us. I have this question to ask and I have a point to make. Yesterday, we talked about, there are some points about IVF. I want to ask, in a case of a man who is incapacitated to have sexual intercourse with his wife, maybe as a result of accident, which broke up the parts of the spinal cord and all stuff like that, and then they are yet to have children. At that point in time, the best or the quickest solution for them would be IVF. Is that wrong? Or what should such couple do to have a reproduction? That is the question. Now, I want Prof to probably get me wrong with this statement that nowadays, many couples have sex, they don't make love. And why I said that is oftentimes some couples feel that it is just a responsibility for them to just, okay, let us just have sex, produce children. And then deep down inside them, probably one of the partners is not really having these connections, this love, these affections involved in making that this thing or in having that sex. But when you feel love with your partner or with your husband or wife, you will enjoy it more deeply. You will enjoy it more deeply. So I want to say that for those marriages who are probably broken today as a result of sexual problem, they really need to check themselves if they actually love themselves at first. Because if you don't love your partner, oftentimes you will have sex with her, it will only be sex. You won't feel that love. So I'm sure,
okay.
Prof, I'm not going out of context.
I just want to say that many people don't know what marriage is, and they don't seem to be willing to know what it is. They don't know what love is, and they don't want to know what it is. They think that love is eros. The love in which God commanded us is agape, is divine philia, and is divine platonic, the Trinitarian love of God. You know that God is Trinity. Eros is a gift God gave us for the purpose of procreation. That's what it's called. Human beings don't reproduce. Animals reproduce. We reproduce chairs, tables, doors. Animals reproduce, but human beings are procreated. Erotic love is a gift from God so that we can use it to procreate, to create according to the mind of God, cooperate with God according to how he wants to create human beings. Because it's God who creates human beings. We don't manufacture human beings. And that's why at the beginning of my talk, I mentioned that in medicine, if you marry and come to us 6 months after, 9 months after, say we're infertile, we said, how long did you did you marry? Say 6 months. Then we say you are not infertile by medical knowledge and science. They say, no, 6 months, and we have sex all the time. If you like, put your penis inside your woman's vagina, tie 2 of you together, be ejaculating, urinating there for 6 months, 9 months, it's not pregnant, you are not infertile. Because it's only God that decides when you are going to have a person. We know it from science, from medicine. So, babies don't have to come from marriage. The purpose of marriage is unity of 2 people who come and unite themselves. Such unity that you cannot get from your father or your mother or your brother or your sister or anybody. And the act of sexual intercourse is the sacrament of that unity. It is only in that act 2 of you can be one at the level of your soul, at the level of your spirit, at the level of your mind, at the level of your heart, and at the level of your body. This is what sexual intercourse is. And it is not guaranteed to bring about a child. Only God creates. So when you are in a life situation where it's not possible to have a child, you must learn that that's the kind of marriage you have. Nature and God have allowed you to have. If you can't have it, well, you have exited our faith community of life. We can sympathize with you, but you are no longer with us. We will persuade you. We will pray for you. I would like to have in concrete that kind of situation where a man and woman cannot have sexual intercourse. A hard sleep disc. Okay, so they can't have sexual intercourse because it may damage it. They can cuddle themselves. And a person who has sleep disc can have ejaculation. He can. So the conditions you are mentioning are more or less what we bring from the secular society to say what you are saying doesn't make sense. And I have dealt with that case with a professor of psychiatry in Canada. He gave 6 conditions, and we dealt with all of them. So there may be rare occasions where husband and wife can have sexual intercourse, but they mustn't have children for the marriage to be real. If they say they have to have it, well, they can go outside the church. At the end of time, God will judge that, but we should explain to them what marriage is. And they can have this, can have a valid marriage, and you show affection, and you share your love with each other without sexual intercourse. Doesn't invalidate your marriage. So it's a difficult situation, but they can pray over it and overcome it. There's a second part to the question you asked. I can't remember it, but perhaps Father and Sister Kelechi, that her hand is up, can speak to that.
No, the second intervention, it was talking about many couples now don't have sex, that they make love. How did you put it? Or they don't make love, they only have sex.
It's just not now. It's since antiquity. Many people don't know what it is. If you are not chaste, you can't have real sexual intercourse. You can, in natural family planning, if you are taught well, you will know that if you have sex with your wife and you have orgasm she doesn't have, you have defrauded her. And the sexual self-control that comes from natural family planning is one of the tools you need to have self-control even in the act, to have patience, gentleness, tenderness, and play that is part of sexual intercourse, to have the preparatory basis of seamless talk, eating together, praying together, playing together, meeting your needs for your marriage. For example, when I married, I was already in academics. My wife was doing her career. She joined academics after she reached the top of her nursing profession, including teaching, school of nursing, before she joined academics. So my responsibility to her is to make sure she publishes and achieves success as an academic. So I can't be looking for sexual intercourse if I haven't asked her, what research are you doing? The last paper you sent or the present, have you sent it for publication? If they have commented on it, have you corrected and sent it? That's part of my marriage. That's my responsibility to fulfill her life. And I haven't done that. I want to have sexual intercourse. What kind of nonsense is that? You know? So that's the context in which sexual intercourse occurs as a self-donation, a self-giving of yourself to fulfill the other person. When people are having sex so they can satisfy their desire for pleasure, that's not sexual intercourse. They're having sex. And that's what many people do in this society. They have no self-donation. They don't have orgasm together. So if all those things is doing the same thing, people have contraception and the man has sex, the woman is still not even sexually aroused. So they are missing it.
Thank you. Thank you,
right.
Prof. Yeah. Just to add to the first question, a person that had accident and can't engage in sexual intercourse, can they go for IVF? My brother, it is not an option for in vitro fertilization. What is not good is not good. What has moral issue has moral issue. So IVF, like we explained yesterday, has its moral issues. We talked about the frozen, that's where life is being terminated. You can't say because they can't have child, therefore they should go for IVF. No. And what does the church advise them to do? Of course, we keep on saying adoption. The church encourages that. Okay. And again, just as Prof mentioned, there is an element of sacrifice in marriage. Many people don't want to hear that. When you enter into marriage, be ready to make some sacrifices. Okay. It is something difficult. It is difficult anyway. But the point remains that you don't go and advise them, okay, you go and do IVF because of these issues. Okay. I now call on the last person, Sister Kelechi. Okay, Sister Kelechi and the Ojugo, please. These are the two last persons we have tonight. Sister Kelechi.
Okay, Father, thank you very much. Mine is just brief. I want to thank Chioma for reminding me of something. In my presentation yesterday, there is a slide there. In fact, it's also to do with the Prof's presentation today. The slide is about helping couples to resolve their sexual issues. It is towards the end of the presentation. I didn't say much on it, but it's there. If people want to look at it and if they have questions on it, they can always refer back to me. It is there how couples can actually look at sexual intimacy and organize it better for mutual satisfaction for both of them. And also in the issue of can there be sexual intercourse without love? Well, that is called abuse, or it's called using people, using your spouse, either the husband or the wife. Sexual intercourse is meant to be enjoyed, like Prof said earlier on, it's marriage embrace. It's meant to be enjoyed by both. And if there's no love, it's impossible. And that means, it's not really what the church is about. It's use, it's abuse.
it's sexual abuse. There should be mutual satisfaction for both of them. I also want to refer to one of the slides I used yesterday when I talked about resources for responsible parenthood. It is there, it is there. In fact, if you look at those, money is number 4 also. There are other resources that we mentioned a couple need to look at to know how much of each they have in order to raise how many children they have. And that's one of the churches encouraging. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sister. The last person, Mrs. Ojuge Livian. Unmute yourself, please. Dr. Ojuge. Okay, I now read out some questions we have in the chat. Prof, there is a question for you here. Prof, please, is the stressed woman and infertile man not prone to sexual abstinence too?
A stressed woman. A stressed woman.
Yes, a stressed woman and infertile man not prone to sexual abstinence. I don't understand that medical term.
Yes. Abstinence means lack of interest or reduced interest or capacity to have orgasm. Anybody who is under stress is capable of getting to sexual abstinence. But the only difference is that the first effect of stress in a man in relation with sexual intercourse usually is precipitated ejaculation. And when that occurs, it leads to frustration and he begins to dodge sexual intercourse entirely. And if it lasts for a long time, he then get to incapacity to even have an erection. But stress has only one side effect in a woman. It depresses the desire for sexual intercourse. And if he doesn't have interest and the husband uses her, because you are not giving yourself, you are not trying to fulfill her, it gets worse and she gets into real sexual abstinence. He doesn't want to be abused. If you want to be abusing her, go ahead, So apart from a two-way effect, earlier and later in a man, all stress eventually leads to sexual abstinence, not just precipitated initial sexual ejaculation in a man. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ojuge, are you ready now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, my mommy, Prof and Prof, and my daddy. There's a point that Mommy Chioma mentioned, which was not emphasized. And that very point is causing much more problems in marriages than even the mental issues and the psychological issues. And this problem is that because before marriage, everybody looks neat, fine, and the rest. And as soon as they get married, the woman begins to blow up. The man begins to have untidy hair and sweat in the shirt and the rest. Then the children start coming. All the sitting room, it's peace all over the shirts, dirty house, dirty everywhere. That is causing much more because if you even go to most homes now, they are not tidy. So how will somebody who was looking neat before the man met her, now the man is coming from work, there's cloth on her chest, and she's already increasing. There's no way that man we want to have any relationship with such a woman. Or the man that is so untidy now that will not keep her himself. There's no way. So that aspect is causing much more danger in intimacy in marriage. Because most women, I don't know, when most young girls now, they are not even trained in domestic aspects. They don't They just go to school. It's just school. From secondary school, they come in the evening. They don't do any house chores. They don't do anything. So when they get into marriage, they don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to manage the home, and they become something else. So that is one of the aspects that you should be looking at. It's not the reason that you got in marriage, you now leave yourself, you get fat. If your husband has met you when you were slim, that very particular man likes slim women. So when you begin to get fat and begin to give excuses that it's because of children, then it's not going to work. The man cannot feel attracted to you. So we begin to look outside for people, for the kind of woman that he likes. So women also get upset with untidy men, especially when they met the man was not like that, and now he's becoming like that. They will not show interest. So homes should people, married couples, to strive to maintain, and parents should train their children well. Parents must train their children, because the children are not well trained. They cannot cook, they cannot do anything. So how will you achieve a good intimacy in marriage? It's not possible. So that is the aspect I want to add.
Thank you. God bless you for your intervention. Well noted. Prof, there is a question for you here. The question goes this way. Sorry, this question may not be in line, but I'm disturbed. Where the man readily ejaculates and the woman never enjoys sex because the man is on mental drugs by his doctor, and they do not have baby for many years of marriage. What do you have to say on this, Prof?
The man is on drugs.
Yeah.
For depression. And then what happened?
And they do not have baby for many years of marriage. The man readily ejaculates, suffers from what is it called again?
Precipitate ejaculation.
Exactly.
Well, I told the story of one of the couples I had when I was still unmarried. If a woman has egg white mucus, that's what makes her feel slippery in her private part. And a husband ejaculates on that, she will get pregnant. That's why people who say, Prof, I want to exercise the abstinence, but I like heavy petting. What is that? What is heavy petting? I don't know what it is. You remove your clothes, you play around, but you don't put the penis inside the vagina. Does the man ejaculate? He says, yes. You have finished sex now. That person will get pregnant, and tomorrow you say he didn't have sex. It is egg white, the function of egg white to attract sperm into the woman's body, carry them all over the place they want, store them in the cervical crib. They come out and go around. They find an egg, they fertilize. So if a man has precipitate ejaculation, that's how that couple had their first child. Precipitate ejaculation, ejaculates on the woman's private part, he gets pregnant. So if a person has precipitate ejaculation, as long as they have removed all their clothes, his wife can get pregnant. But the more important thing is that the woman shouldn't get frustrated about that and say, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Because when a man ejaculates, he has what is called sexual detumescence. He must finish detumescence properly before he can be aroused again. And if they are talking about their family, their career plans and children and so on, a man can finish his detumescence and have a second sexual arousal. And a sexual arousal in a person who had precipitate ejaculation before, if there's peace, is sustained. It fits the woman's sexual arousal even better. So that's what the sexual therapy that couples like that need. They will overcome their infertility.
The next question says, is it possible for a woman who is about 13 years in marriage to have never climaxed? What could be the reason, and how can it be resolved if not normal?
Well, Chioma is here, and he can testify that when she was teaching in Babcock University and teaching sexuality and family life, One of the tutors they have there came over to her once and said, the way you talk about sexual intercourse and orgasm is impressive for me. Before I was dismissing it. But when you talk about it, it's so natural to you. And I see that there's no lie in it. He said, I've been married for how many years? Over 15 years. And she has about 6 children or so. He said, but I've never experienced orgasm. Because we brought up in these Seventh-day Adventists in a puritanic fashion. The woman is not supposed to have orgasm. It's just supposed to provide sex for the husband, and they have children. So there are many people who have had many children and they've never experienced orgasm once. Depends on the mindset of their upbringing. They don't even know what orgasm is. But orgasm is part of sexual intercourse. It's slower in coming for a woman than for a man. So if you don't learn natural family plan and sexual self-control, yes, you can marry and be 20 years married, and your wife has never had orgasm before. And before she's reached a plateau of excitement, before she can have orgasm, you have ejaculated, and you are the tumescence, and there's no more sexual pleasure. So yes, many people are married, have many children, but never they experience orgasm. It's common, and they need education, sexual life education.
Okay, the next question says, if a woman is experiencing painful sexual intercourse through the back, she explains to her husband that having it that way is painful, but the man is finding it difficult to understand her. How does she cope with this painful style? She doesn't enjoy sex at all with her husband, and for peace to reign, she gives in to avoid quarrels.
As far as I know, position of sexual intercourse is not what causes dyspareunia. Dyspareunia, the condition for it occurs wherever you want to have sex by. So there are so many things people fabricate and tell people who don't know the physiology of this function, and they believe it, and they start running amok about it just to fulfill what they want. There are some women who want to have sexual intercourse at the back because they believe you should be having sex with them like animals. At a counseling, a woman told me that since the husband did something in their act of sexual intercourse, she doesn't want to have sexual intercourse anymore. If he would leave him do whatever he likes, he would be looking at him. Because when they were having sexual intercourse, he said, listen, you know, other girls I have sexual intercourse before I got married. When we were having sex, he said, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. And is when you are having sex with them from the back, they say, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. And he wants her to be repeating that. So those who say they want to have sex with several people, so they have experience before they marry, they have creating the condition for the failure of that marriage. Because they are carrying all these things in their head. And once your wife learns you are rehearsing what you learned from several prostitutes with her, your marriage has died. Sexual intimacy is personal. You can only know how to have sex with X by having sex with X only. If you have it with Y, Z, you are spoiling the chance of having satisfactory sexual intercourse with X. That's the science of it. That's the truth of it. And people brandish this nonsense all over the places because when people have frustrated their own life, they are not getting any more joy about it. They want to spread the same nonsense, and people are believing it. So dyspareunia, as far as I know, is not caused by position, except you have a local pathology on one side of your pelvis inside, and sexual intercourse by any posture gets your penis on that side. But if it's the general causes of dyspareunia, they will occur, whichever side whatever position you want to have sexual intercourse from. If there's anybody who has higher knowledge than that, Sister Njoku anesthesia is not anesthesia is not there. Otherwise, she's a gynecologist, and you can tell us. Is there any other general practitioner there who may know obstetrics and gynecology? But from my public health knowledge, the causes of dyspareunia have nothing to do except local pathology and, penises that go in that direction. And there are very few. So position has very little with dyspareunia.
Thank you. We are trying to round up as quick as possible. There's a question someone asked: can denial of sex when the man has fully aroused has any side effects to the man medically?
The side effect is annoyance. And what comes from annoyance? Wickedness thereafter. But physiologically, no. Physiologically.
All right.
And what we need is to learn values and the truth and live with it. A person who is saying that is finding a reason to say, whenever I want to have sex, you must provide it because I'm a dog.
Okay, the last question is it every woman who experiences climax or come? Okay, is it every woman experiences climax or come? You just said if a man sleeps with his wife and he comes without his wife coming, he defrauded the wife. Prof, did you get the question?
Every woman can have orgasm if we have sexual intercourse lovingly and the way it ought to be. Where men have quick sexual arousal. So if they have no self-control, if they have no desire to please their wives, to give a self-donation to their wife, to find out what pleases the wife, to do it. Yes, they can keep defrauding her all the time. Not out of wickedness, but out of lack of knowledge. That's why learning NFP and practicing is good, because it cures you whether you knew it or not. Sexual self-control has magic to sexual satisfaction, to knowing to exercise love in marriage.
We take the last one. Prof, what do you have to say about children born through IVF? Someone asked that question, whether they can produce their own children or not, whether there be any physiological defects in future, or what do you have to say about that?
There are a few scientific evidences that in vitro produced children may have a couple of problems, but not that they won't be able to produce children. I don't know about that one.
Thank you. I thank you once again, Prof, for the teaching. God bless you. There is a quick intervention I want to make. Someone sent me a message on WhatsApp telling me that she has been denying her husband sex throughout this period of Lent. And few years ago, I encountered a woman who told me the same thing. That made me to make a video on some of the misconceptions about sex. I just want to intervene that coming from scripture, St. Paul makes it clear that if you want to abstain from sex for a spiritual purpose, either for prayer or any, it should be something that comes from mutual agreement. Very important. Both of you should agree. If you don't agree and you are doing it on your own, know that you are depriving your husband or your wife his or her own rights. Because the consent you express in marriage is that you are going to offer your body, you are going to donate yourself to him, and he will do the same. It should be something that comes from agreements. And the lady further told me that I think the husband annoyed her. She now used it as a way to punish her. And she has been doing it since last year, not even only this period of Lent. She has been doing. In fact, I told her, what are you saying? She further said that that is her only weapon of, that's her only way of dealing with the husband. That there are women who use cutlass, who use knife, and her own is to use sex. It is a reality, but women know that it is wrong. Don't use sex to weaponize your spouse, okay?
Why
It
should
is
they be
not right.
anybody be fighting in the marriage? Any fight at all? Marriage is not a place for fighting.
Okay,
Yeah.
finally, I thank everyone who participated in this conference from day 1 to this day 3. Thank you so much. All the presentations we made, by the special grace of God, we shall put them together and put them in print, have a kind of handout for marriage counselors. By the grace of God, we shall do that. There will be another workshop. It will be communicated to us when the necessary arrangements has been made. This will be the part 1. Definitely, we shall have another part. Sister Kelechi suggested to me that the time we have is not even enough to discuss some of these topics that we raise. And I'm looking towards that direction of having another workshop to maybe discuss some of the topics in deep or another topic. Definitely, I assure you, we shall have another workshop, but the time and every information about that will be made known to us when the arrangement is, done, when we finish with the arrangement. Then the second point is that we have YouTube channel. Please help us to subscribe to this channel. Help us to subscribe, share the channel, and let us get up to 1,000 subscribers. That is your own way of supporting what we do. Today's record will be sent in the YouTube channel. You can go there and watch today, the one of today and the previous ones, and share them to different groups you belong to. I just want to get feedback from us before we conclude with the final prayer. How has it been? These 3 days of workshop, how has it been? What is your own reaction towards that? What do you have to say about it? Did we get it right? Is there any area we didn't get it right? Maybe 2 or 3 persons can speak, we conclude. I just want to get feedback from 3 of us concerning this workshop we are ending this night. Please let me know your thoughts on this. Just raise your hand. Let me hear from you. How has it been these past 3 days? Okay, Johnson, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Father. It's been interesting. Just that what Sister actually comments is just the area that we need to readjust. You could see that we are closing almost 11 o'clock. We're about 1:30 at a point. Now we're now reducing gradually. So probably we'll have to work on the time. If we can bring it down to 7:30, and then at the same time too, we give exact time to those who are commenting or those who are asking questions. There are some of us that in the course of asking questions, you're already giving the answers already. So, and it takes time when you begin to explain your questions. So probably for subsequent one, let's just go straight to the question. And then those who are answering the question, the facilitators will be able to get the facts of the questions. So that's just my own intake.
Okay, thank you, Fidelia.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have not spoken all through these lectures because I found them very interesting and very communicating and educative. Father, thank you very much, and thank you other facilitators that spoke to us. My other comments has just been mentioned. That's timing. The timing is a bit too late. If we can do it, if we can say 2 hours, let it be 2 hours, even if it is like 7:30 to 9:30 or something like that, let's just have a fixed time so that one can really stay on. At some point, I felt like going to go and sleep, but I discovered that I'm going to miss if I do that, because it became more interesting, even as I was trying to say, oh, should I go to bed or not? You know what I mean? So I think the timing is important.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. We should stick to 2 hours or any other time. Let it be fixed. Thank you. Abba Sheets.
Dear Father, I just want to say it's been inspirational, it's been informative, and it's been thought-provoking, and also educational. So I'm very, very grateful for what happened and what we've learned over the past 3 days. All I'll say is perhaps we need to have some strong guidelines that when people come on, they need to mute themselves, because I think there's a lot of background noise, which is not very nice for the presenters who've made time to present to us. So I think that's it. That's an important thing, a ground rule that must be respected. And if we have somebody who centrally controls everyone's buttons, that somebody mutes all of us and everybody stays on mute unless you are asked to speak. And if we can also have access to all the lectures that have been presented, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Akua Omonon Akua.
Omono Akura. Good evening, Father. Good evening, my brothers and sisters. I'm from the Catholic Church of Transfiguration, Arepo. I supervise the marriage class there. I want to appreciate all the facilitators that partook in this process. It was enjoyable. I just couldn't cut off. Even at the end of the day, it drives sleep out of me so long as I'm in this session. So my take home is that, yes, our children, parents have a very strong duty, which God has already given to us. That duty must be there to help our children grow into good adults, God-fulfilled adults, so that they can live better lives for which God has created them for. So the catechesis should start from children age 5, they are not too young, age 5, age 13, all the way up. Because from age 5, the child already has his or her own mind. I know when I was working in the law firm where I started practice from, my principal was a homosexual. Yes, I'll say that, a well-known a legal practitioner. But it got me thinking that this man, how many children would he have touched at this point in time? So teaching my first son at that time that this is what this is what you should know. This is where is your private part for nobody to touch. This is what is important, has carried him all the way, all through 26 years to know the difference between who God has made him to be and who he's not supposed to be. So teaching our children and talking to them from when they are little bit, from when they are in the uterus, like we learned in this session, all the way they take it through life. It doesn't depart from them. So I sincerely appreciate all what you have done for us, Father, and all our facilitators and the coordinators. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. I asked that some of this feedback, you help us put them in the YouTube channel. It's going to help us there too. Some of the things you said, you can help us put them there. At this point, we take the closing prayer. Every other information will be sent in the WhatsApp group. I hope we all are there. If you are not there, kindly send your WhatsApp number. We shall add you there. Thank you. May we now say the closing prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Bow down your head for God's blessing. May the Lord bless and keep you.
Amen.
May He grant you your numerous heart desires.
Amen.
May He grant you the grace to serve Him in spirit and in truth. May He
Amen.
bless your various families and marriages. As you
Amen.
go, as you come, may the Lord protect and guide you. May He inspire you with the power of His Spirit, that no evil shall come your way. No evil shall come the way of your children and your family members. That after a life well spent on earth, we all shall see Him face to face in heaven. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Peace be with you all.
And with your
With
spirit.
you, and good night, everybody.